In a world that spins so fast, tech evolves, it's built to last. AI whispers in the stream, shaping futures like a dream. VL Extras here to show.
Hey folks, welcome back. You're tuned into VL Extras, where we chase the wildest edges of science with a visual spark. Picture a world where woolly mammoths roam again, dire wolves howl under starlit skies, and dodo birds waddle through forests. Sounds like a fairy tale or a sci-fi flick, but a company called Colossal Biosciences is making it real. Founded by a genius geneticist and a bold entrepreneur, Colossal's not just resurrecting extinct animals, they're asking, does the Earth need a makeover? I'm hooked on this story. Let's dive into the saga of science, ambition, and a planet on the brink. If you're new, hit that subscribe button and join our tribe of dreamers and doers. Our tale begins with two men, worlds apart, drawn together by a shared dream. George Church, born on August 28, 1954, in Tampa, Florida, was a kid who saw life as a puzzle. He is a professor at Harvard Medical School and MIT, and a founding member of the Wyeth Institute for Biologically Inspired Engineering at Harvard. Church has been instrumental in developing genomic sequencing technologies and was among the first to sequence the human genome. His laboratory has co-founded numerous biotechnology companies and has significantly contributed to advancements in synthetic biology and genome editing. Church's interest in de-extinction began around 2008, focusing on sequencing the woolly mammoth genome. By 2015, his team had integrated mammoth genes into elephant DNA, identifying key genes responsible for traits like cold resistance and distinctive physical features. Church wasn't just a scientist, he was rewriting history's erasures. Enter Ben Lamm, a Texas-born serial entrepreneur with a knack for big bets. He is a serial technology entrepreneur with a passion for solving complex global challenges. Lamm built and sold companies like Hypergiant, Conversible, Chaotic Moon Studios, and Team Chaos, snatched up by giants like Accenture and Zynga. In 2019, he stumbled across Church's de-extinction papers and felt a jolt. This wasn't just science, it was a mission to fix humanity's mistakes. Lamm tracked Church down, and in 2021 they co-founded Colossal Biosciences in Dallas. Their goal? Bring back lost species and heal the Earth's wounds. Two visionaries, one with a microscope, one with a megaphone, ready to shake the world. Colossal Biosciences isn't your average startup. It's a biotech juggernaut, fueled by a whopping $435 million in funding, including a $200 million Series C round in January 2025. Big names like Peter Jackson, yes, Lord of the Rings. Peter and Paris Hilton are investors, betting on a future where extinction isn't forever. Colossal's mission? Use CRISPR gene editing to resurrect species like the woolly mammoth, dire wolf, and dodo bird, while building tech for conservation, medicine, and agriculture. It's not just about nostalgia, it's about giving the planet a second chance. Let's start with the star, the woolly mammoth. Colossal's flagship project isn't about cloning a museum fossil. It's creating a cold-resistant elephant with mammoth traits. Thick fur, small ears, a knack for Arctic life. By 2023, they'd engineered mice with these traits, a proof of concept that sent shockwaves. These woolly mice, tiny, furry pioneers, showed Church's team could tweak DNA to mimic extinct species, a stepping stone to mammoths roaming by 2028. Why bother? Mammoths could restore Arctic grasslands, trapping carbon and slowing permafrost, melt a climate game changer.
At Colossal Biosciences in Dallas, the mission is clear. Pair cutting-edge science with high-tech tools to reach a goal of prehistoric proportions.
We're less than 5 years away from seeing mammoths back on the planet.
Not if it's going to happen, when it's going to happen.
It is simply a function of time. So two really interesting
Which is why co-founder and CEO Ben Lamm says now's the time to embrace the term de-extinction, the process of creating an extinct species, or at least an animal, that resembles one. In Colossal's case, the woolly mammoth, which died off roughly 4,000 years ago. The company announced a major breakthrough, how to essentially reprogram the cells of elephants, allowing Colossal to then recreate their modern-day version of a mammoth. You'd be forgiven if all this sounds like...
Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
We've heard the Jurassic Park comparison once or twice, right? Now we're not taking, dino DNA and putting in frog DNA. We're not taking mammoth DNA and putting in elephant DNA. We're actually doing it in exactly reverse.
Asian elephant DNA, to be exact, because according to Colossal, it's the closest living relative to its prehistoric predecessor, a 99.6% match.
The return of the woolly mammoth essentially starts here.
Yes, absolutely.
We joined Dr. Ariona Hisoli, lead researcher on the Woolly Mammoth Project.
So we're looking at essentially an Asian elephant in cellular form.
That's actually correct, yes.
Colossal says this process will allow them to not only bring back other extinct animals, but also save animals on the brink of extinction, and even improve the environment by restoring the animals to old habitats. Even though Colossal admits that this is a major breakthrough, the company does stress, don't expect to see any real-life woolly mammoths for at least the next few years. But in the science community, there are researchers who not only have questions here, but are concerned.
Number one, it's not really a mammoth. It's a mutated Asian elephant.
Dr. Vincent Lynch specializes in genetics and evolutionary biology at the University at Buffalo and stresses timing is everything.
To put them back now isn't to replace something that was once there, but it's to put an invasive species into an environment in which it's never been before.
Is there 1% in the back of your mind of where something could go wrong?
We're doing the best that we can to collaborate with all the top scientists, bioethicists, and conservationists around the world to ensure that it goes as right as possible. But there will always be some risk in any large moonshot for society.
A mammoth-sized moonshot. Coming soon. Morgan Chesky, NBC News.
Next up, the dire wolf, the Game of Thrones icon extinct for 10,000 years. On October 1st, 2024, Colossal made history. Meet Romulus and Remus, the first de-extinct animals born from ancient DNA and CRISPR edits. Using fossils up to 72,000 years old, Colossal rebuilt the dire wolf genome and brought these pups to life. CEO Ben Lamm says it's not about theme parks, it's about tech to save species and ecosystems. On X, posts exploded. The Howl's back. But some asked, is this safe?
You made a fucking dire wolf.
Our incredible team made 3 dire wolves so far.
We turned out to that remarkable scientific breakthrough.
A Howl 13,000 years in the making.
The dire wolf is the first de-extinct species.
We're making history.
And it's broken the internet.
I'm too amped. Officially with it, yeah, I'm scared. You gotta give it up to the man. Cause I'm back.
Using genetic engineering, a company called
Colossal
Biosciences
revive these extinct animals. How, you might ask?
And something called De-Extinction. Have you ever seen Game of Thrones?
Of course.
You actually have dire wolves?
Everything that we make that has an application to conservation, anyone in the world can use to help save animals.
They are so adorable.
I'm like, babe, what are you thinking about? He's like, how the dire wolf would be as high as his counter. That's what men think about.
This is just fascinating.
They have de-extinctified the dire wolf. Ride on them, come through with it, just slide.
I like that. Those dire wolves are beautiful. So many questions.
Explain how you did that.
Ancient DNA from dire wolf fossil.
The magic comes from multiplex precise editing.
This is a monumental genetic first for the world and for America.
Unreal. Quite remarkable. Mind-boggling.
One step. Wait till we see what's next.
You gotta give it up to the man. Cause I'm back.
We've announced 3 species, the woolly mammoth, the thylacine, and the dodo, but one of the things that's absolutely critical to ecosystems is predators, as we've seen with what's happened in Yellowstone with the reintroduction of wolves back into the park. They've shown that they've even reshaped the river systems. They brought back beavers, they brought back songbirds, and so we felt that it was very important for us to bring back the dire wolf.
The dire wolf is the first species that we're bringing back at Colossal.
The dire wolf, which most people think is just a mythical creature, was actually a keystone species that was not only endemic to the United States and mostly Americas, but it was actually culturally important to some of the biggest indigenous early tribes in America. So we thought if we could use it as an opportunity where we can also develop technologies that can help wolves, we thought it was the right first project given how important wolves are to ecosystems.
One of the challenges when we started working on the dire wolf was that we knew of only 2 dire wolf specimens in the world that contained some usable DNA. One of our dire wolf samples was a single tooth, And then another was a 72,000-year-old skull. So we're able to use these specimens and isolate this ancient DNA out of them.
For the direwolf, there was a massive study that did many samples across multiple institutions, and Colossal took 2 of those samples and was able to generate whole genome sequences from each. And so this is incredible for any species, let alone species that have been extinct. So what you can do is you can map that to its closest living relative. So Colossal are using the gray wolf, and we've been able to generate such a high quality genome that we can map back to create our own direwolf reference genome.
When we edit different lines of genetically diverse gray wolves, we'll create a set of genetically diverse direwolves with similar edits, but the basis of their diversity already existed within the gray wolf.
Gray wolves are on the endangered species list, and that means you can't just go in and collect the samples that we want.
Typically, people have to take an ear punch or a skin biopsy, and sometimes it's a very invasive process for the animal. We've developed a technology where you can take a simple blood draw, isolate these specific cells in the blood, and then clone from it.
We're changing the genome of this living animal partially into the genome of the extinct animal for those genes that matter, for the traits and characteristics that we want to see in that animal.
Discovering which parts of the genome make an animal look and act like that animal is one of the hardest problems in biology. It is unsolved and something that we have to solve if we want to know which parts of the genome we want to edit to make a gray wolf more like a dire wolf.
To analyze our genomes, to compare direwolves with gray wolf genomes, we use our tools on a platform built by FormBio. It's a bioinformatics company that spun out of Colossal. They built this whole suite of analysis tools and algorithms that allow us to find the differences between the direwolf genome and the gray wolf genome and filter out these differences that we actually want to edit. And so we aligned our direwolf reads to the gray wolf genome. That allowed us to know exactly where the gray wolf differed from the direwolf. One of the most exciting differences that we found in the direwolf genome is that there is a change in the L-Coral gene. L-Coral is a key regulator of animal size.
Next, we have to use gene editing technologies. We have cells growing in a dish in a lab that belong to a gray wolf. And so these have gray wolf genomes. We've decided which part of that genome we want to change. So one at a time, we take our gene editing tools and we go into that cell and we cut out the bit of DNA that looks like a gray wolf and paste in its place the DNA that looks like a dire wolf.
Each time you edit a gene in a cell, you put a lot of stress on that cell because you have to get your gene editing tools in these cells and these changes are made. So what we do instead is we try to make dozens or hundreds of changes at once. It's called multiplex gene editing.
So now we have cells growing in a dish in a lab that have DNA that makes them a little bit more dire wolf-like than gray wolf-like. We have to transform these living cells into actual pups. And for that, we use a process called cloning, or somatic cell nuclear transfer. This is the same process that most famously brought us Dolly the sheep.
So you take an egg, an oocyte, from a wolf or a dog, you take out its own DNA and you stick that direwolf cell in it.
That cell becomes an embryo that's a direwolf. It's no longer a domestic dog, which sounds totally science fiction. And with the help of that team, we then are able to surgically put this embryo back inside to the surrogate dog.
We have to find an appropriate dog that can carry our direwolf.
Everyone is thinking very critically about each step so that when that pup is finally born, we know there aren't any issues.
The safety of all of our surrogates for any of our species is the highest priority. We have an overemphasis on our animal husbandry team to secure their safety, as well as are pursuing on the science side our own exogenous development team so that one day we won't have to use surrogates.
The most exciting part is when the vet team comes in, they do their ultrasound and they say, yeah, congrats, you're gonna be a puppy mom, or you're gonna have a cub on the ground in a couple weeks. After the pups are delivered, there's a care team in place. They're there to make sure that our direwolf pups are happy and healthy and that mom has gone through delivery without any problems. And then we have another team that will ensure that our pups have the right dynamics, they have the right social structures.
Then there's the dodo bird, the poster child of extinction. In January 2023, Colossal launched its avian genomics group to resurrect this flightless wonder. By 2025, they'd sequenced dodo DNA, aiming for a comeback by 2030. It's not just whimsy dodos could reseed forests, boosting biodiversity. Colossal's not stopping there. The Tasmanian tiger is next with a full genome sequenced and stem cells created by May 2025. Each species is a puzzle piece in their vision, a planet where biodiversity thrives again.
Behold the woolly mouse, a genetically engineered rodent made by Colossal Biosciences, a company that says it's going to bring back the woolly mammoth and other species from extinction. Colossal scientists reference dozens of elephant and mammoth genomes to identify genes that affect hair growth, color, and length, and use that information to edit mouse genetic codes to exhibit mammoth-like hair traits. Instead of short brown fur, the woolly mouse has long, dirty blonde hair. The company is not going to turn mice into mammoths, but company scientists and executive told Gizmodo that their plan is to eventually grow a mammoth from edited cells of an Asian elephant, one of the mammoth's closest living relatives. Colossal claims that the genetic toolkit it's building in pursuit of the mammoth, as well as other extinct animals like the Tasmanian tiger and the dodo, can be used to help living animals currently under threat of extinction. The company says that they plan to have a mammoth by the end of 2028, and that they're close to making a breakthrough in resurrecting the dodo. The animals Colossal creates are not the animals that once roamed the earth. They are proxy species. In other words, in place of a mammoth, a hairy, cold-adapted elephant that for all intents and purposes fills the same ecological niche. Whether the company can pull off so-called de-extinction remains to be seen, but the very hairy mouse shows that they are right on track.
All that is wild. But we've lost so much, and many species around the world are in danger of extinction. Colossal's work hits me here. It's hope. Their tech isn't just for mammoths or wolves. It's for conservation, saving endangered species with gene editing. It's for medicine. CRISPR tweaks could cure genetic diseases. It's for agriculture, drought-resistant crops. Lamm calls it building tools for human health and conservation. But it's bigger, a chance to undo humanity's scars, from deforestation to climate chaos. The company's long-term vision encompasses not only de-extinction but also the development of technologies with applications in conservation, medicine, and agriculture. By focusing on ecological restoration and biodiversity, Colossal seeks to address the impacts of human-induced extinction and climate change.
Everyone likes to talk about the climate crisis, but we are actually in a biodiversity crisis, and that's absolutely critical to our way of life. So if all of these species go extinct, then we'll have full ecosystem collapse.
Some scientists have estimated that by 2050, half of all species that are alive today will be extinct. The truth is that extinction happens. Extinctions have happened throughout evolutionary history. But right now, the rate of extinction is estimated to be 1,000 to 10,000 times faster than the base rate in the fossil record. And a lot of that is our fault. We need a solution.
Colossal is the world's first de-extinction company, and we combine de-extinction with species preservation, and our goal is to make extinction a thing of the past.
Colossal
Biosciences
develops cutting-edge technology to protect biodiversity and reverse climate extinction.
People think it's a scary word, de-extinction. They immediately put us with Jurassic Park, and it's not. We're trying to develop these new techniques in order to save animals, in order to bring back animals that, in some cases, were our fault that we don't have them any longer. It wasn't a climate problem, it was a human problem.
I think we all share the deep concern about what's happening to biodiversity, what's happening to the planet, what's happening to people whose lives have been intertwined with wild nature since before time began. And so coming together is so exciting because I think that's how we can really drive change.
We're finding solutions to restore a species back to the wild. The purpose of that is to serve an ecological function. As we lose species within an ecosystem, if you think of a Jenga puzzle, you're sort of pulling blocks out of there. Those blocks that are creating the instability in the ecosystem is literally the function that animal plays. If we can find ways to restore animals that provide that specific function, we can create more stability within an ecosystem.
Scientists just got one step closer to bringing back the woolly mammoth. We're really far away from doing that, but this is still a big deal, so here's what's going on. So this group of scientists' goal is to edit the genes of Asian elephants, the nearest living relative to woolly mammoths, so that they have shaggy hair and extra fat and other traits that mammoths have. But first, they want to test the gene edits on stem cells, cells that could be transformed into other types of cells, like hair cells or blood cells. They've been trying to create stem cells by reprogramming an elephant's adult cells, which has been done successfully for other animals before, but the usual methods weren't working. Finally, they discovered the secret recipe, combining a bunch of different techniques and changing the expression of a specific anti-cancer gene. This method was a huge breakthrough, but there are lots of hurdles still remaining, like figuring out how to create gene-edited embryos and then grow them. It's complicated. Along the way, they're hoping to understand how woolly mammoth genes help them adapt to the cold, and answer the question, can we bring back extinct species? If you like optimistic science and tech stories, follow for more.
Colossal's achievements are stacking up. Woolly mice? Done. Dire wolf pups? Born. Dodo DNA? Sequenced. Tasmanian tiger? On deck. Their $435 million war chest, backed by visionaries like Jackson, fuels labs in Dallas, Australia, and beyond. The science is real: CRISPR, stem cells, ancient DNA. The hope is bigger, ecological restoration, where revived species rebuild habitats. Imagine mammoths cooling the Arctic, dodos reviving islands, wolves balancing forests. It's a makeover for Earth, humanity's redemption arc. Colossal Biosciences is daring us to dream, a world where extinction isn't forever, where we heal what we've broken. George Church and Ben Lamm aren't just scientists or entrepreneurs, they're storytellers, rewriting Earth's narrative. But it's messy: science, ethics, hope, risk. Does the Earth need this makeover? You tell me. Drop your thoughts below, hit like if your mind's racing, and subscribe for more VL extras. Mammoths, wolves, dodos, colossals just getting started. We'll keep watching, visual style. See you next time.